mom came up to me and was like, "Hey, Rob, you know I got something to tell you. That's your dad for real." And I'm like, I was shocked. Like, Mom, what are you talking about? You know, I'm young. Like, it's nothing your parents would just make up like that. You don't just say this type of person is your father, Jay Z.
I said, "Oh, young boy." He's like, "I just want a dad. I don't want no money. I'm already 18. I think he was like 20 something at the time."
Okay, y'all, the internet is literally shaking right now because the Carters' perfect empire might have just cracked wide open. Word on the street is that Rymir Satterthwaite, the man who's been fighting for years claiming to be Jay Z's secret firstborn, has allegedly been granted half of Jay and Beyonce's billion-dollar fortune. Yep, you heard that right, half the dynasty. But hold on, because the tea doesn't stop there. Some insiders are whispering that this case could open the door to even more hidden kids Jay Z never claimed, and that Beyonce has been working overtime to keep those secrets from spilling. So here's the real question. If Rymir finally gets recognized, does that mean Jay Z's entire image falls apart? Now here's where it gets crazy. The Carters aren't just rich on paper, they've got real estate across the globe. We're talking mansions in Los Angeles worth $88 million, a $26 million estate in the Hamptons, and Lux. When we talk about power couples, nobody even comes close to Jay Z and Beyonce. These two have spent decades building not just music careers, but an actual dynasty worth over $2 billion. That's right. Together, the Carters are sitting on a fortune that makes them one of the richest celebrity couples in the entire world.
I don't know if you guys remember a few months ago when Beyonce was hired to perform in Dubai at that new UAE building or whatever, the new hotel that opened in Dubai. Everyone was so excited. They were so excited to see that, oh, Beyonce's getting paid $30 million for an hour to perform.
Let's break this down. Jay Z on his own is estimated to be worth $1.3 billion. And no, it's not just from music. His wealth comes from a mix of business moves that made him one of the smartest moguls in the game. He's got ownership stakes in Roc Nation, Armand de Brignac Champagne, and D'Ussé Cognac. Not to mention his investments in Uber, Tidal, and other companies. Jay doesn't just rap about money moves, he actually makes them. Then we have Queen Bey herself, with a net worth of around $500 million to $600 million. Her fortune comes from record-breaking tours, brand deals, Ivy Park, and her own music royalties. Add in her acting roles, film productions, and massive streaming numbers. And Beyonce is a financial force on her own. Together, they're unstoppable. Luxury properties in New Orleans and Miami. Their car collection alone is in the millions. Rolls Royces, Maybachs, even a custom $8 million Maybach Excelero. And don't even get us started on their private jet and yacht lifestyle. So when the rumor hit that Rymir Satterthwaite, the alleged son of Jay Z, might actually walk away with half of this fortune, fans went wild. Imagine splitting billions of dollars, multi-million-dollar properties, and luxury collections right down the middle. That's not just pocket change, that's an empire being sliced apart. But if Rymir is officially recognized and given half of the fortune, that perfect family picture crumbles overnight. Now, let's talk about the man at the center of this storm, Rymir Satterthwaite. His name has been floating around hip-hop circles and gossip blogs for years, but most people don't realize just how long and how hard he's been fighting to prove that Jay Z is his father. This isn't some random rumor that popped up yesterday. This has been a decades-long struggle that has shaped Rymir's entire life. According to Rymir, his late mother, Wanda, told him from a young age that Jay Z was his real father. She allegedly had a relationship with Jay in the early 90s, long before he became a global superstar, and she carried that secret with her until her death.
These parties, and why would these judges be doing so much and running? And it just really dawned on me. It's the man that my mom was underage when she consumed me. Anyone who'd have been older than, the legal age, it would have been a no-no. So that's just been in my mind. Why would they be fighting this so hard? And why has it been fraud and collusion that just been looked upon, like just looked over, and we haven't just been getting no help from the courts or nobody?
Over the years, she repeatedly reminded Rymir that the man raising him wasn't his biological dad, and that the truth was much bigger than he could imagine. For Rymir, this wasn't about chasing fame or fortune. In fact, he's been very vocal about the fact that he's never asked for a dime. He works, he has his own children, and by all accounts, he's lived a normal life outside the spotlight. What he's been fighting for is something a lot of people take for granted: the truth about who his father really is. But here's where things get messy. Every time Rymir has tried to bring this issue into court, Jay Z's legal team has shut it down. Judges have dismissed cases, citing lack of evidence or pointing back to earlier rulings that named another man as Rymir's father. In 2022, things got even worse for him when a judge actually issued an injunction barring him from filing new lawsuits about Jay Z without special approval. In other words, the courts were done hearing him out.
That's what's going on. It's been a crazy couple weeks, y'all. I want to let y'all know that I have not stopped my fight. You know, I did withdraw my case. It's for a reason, y'all. It's not because I'm stopping with it or not going to refile it or anything like that. It's just a lot going on behind closed doors. Hey, we got to step back and play chess, not checkers.
And yet, he still refuses to back down. Rymir insists that Jay Z has gone out of his way to avoid taking a DNA test, and that alone raises eyebrows. After all, if the rumors are false, wouldn't a simple test clear everything up in seconds? Why drag this out for years unless there's something to hide? That's the question fans keep asking, and it's the question Jay Z has never answered. Adding fuel to the fire, Rymir claims that throughout this battle, he and his family have faced harassment, slander, and intimidation. He's been called a liar, accused of chasing money, and had his name dragged through the mud. Think about that. Imagine being told your whole life that one of the most powerful men in music is your father, only to be ignored and silenced every time you seek clarity. Imagine watching that man publicly raise other children while pretending you don't exist. For Rymir, this isn't just a legal fight. It's a deeply personal wound that he refuses to let scar over without answers. If there's one person who has carried the weight of Jay Z's scandals more than anyone else, it's Beyoncé. For 2 decades, she's been painted as the queen of composure, the flawless performer, the devoted wife, the protective mother. But behind the scenes, insiders claim this latest twist with Rymir has left her shaken in a way fans have never seen before. Remember, this isn't the first time Beyoncé has had to swallow rumors about Jay Z and his other women.
When push came to shove and Jay Z cheated on her ass stayed put right there. Why? Because Jay Z's a billionaire, he's successful, he has more status than she does. And here's the problem. Beyonce has status too, but how many men are going to rise up to Beyonce's level?
Like Jay Z.
Back then, the narrative was that Jay Z had cheated, Beyoncé found out, and instead of walking away, she transformed her pain into art. She gave us Lemonade, Jay Z gave us 444, and together they staged a very public reconciliation. Fans saw it as proof that their love could survive anything. But this is different. Cheating rumors sting, yes, but the possibility of a hidden child, a son old enough to be raised alongside their empire, is a whole new level of betrayal. Sources close to the Carters claim Beyoncé has struggled to process the idea that while she was busy building their family brand, Jay might have been hiding another family altogether. And the timing makes it even more brutal. Beyoncé is in her prime, fresh off sold-out stadium tours, billion-dollar deals, and carefully managing the image of Blue Ivy stepping into the spotlight. Here's the part that has always blown fans' minds. After nearly 2 decades of rumors, lawsuits, and accusations, Jay Z has never once submitted to a DNA test for Rymir's Satterthwaite. Think about that for a second. For someone with as much money, power, and influence as Jay Z, a test that could end this saga in minutes has instead dragged on for years. So the question everyone asks is simple: why not just take the test? Jay Z's legal team has always argued that these lawsuits are nothing more than harassment.
Rymir, as well as Rymir's godmother and caretaker, Lily Cooley, of harassing him for years over claims that Rymir is Jay Z's son. In the court documents submitted on June 16th, Jay Z slams a recent lawsuit that Rymir and Lily filed against him as just the latest in what he says has been decades-long harassment. The documents read, "The fabricated allegations and claims have been addressed and rejected."
That the courts have already dismissed them multiple times, that another man was previously named as Rymir's father, and that reopening the case would be pointless. They frame it as if Rymir is chasing a ghost, trying to relive an issue that the law has already put to rest. But here's the twist. In the American legal system, if a judge formally orders a DNA test, Jay Z cannot legally refuse. If he ignores the order, he risks being held in contempt of court, facing fines, or even potential jail time. That's why fans find it so suspicious. Because over the years, Jay Z's lawyers have worked incredibly hard to ensure no judge ever gets to that point. Case after case has been dismissed before it reaches the stage where a DNA test could be compelled. And let's be honest, if Jay Z is innocent, why wouldn't he want to prove it? A simple swab would silence Rymir, shut down the rumors, and protect his empire once and for all. Instead, the refusal has only fueled conspiracy theories. People believe that avoiding the test is his way of avoiding the truth. Because if the results came back positive, it wouldn't just prove paternity, it would expose decades of lies. What makes this even more intense is how the public reads into the silence. Every time Jay Z sidesteps the issue, it gives critics more ammunition.
I think that kid is a true nutcase.
A nutcase that looked very.
He
that
doesn't
looks like Jay Z.
Other than a nose,
he looked like Jay Z.
No, he don't.
Yes,
I
he
believe
does. He
that
looks like Jay
kid-
Z. What about the daughter?
I believe.
What about the daughter?
I don't know about the daughter. I don't know about the daughter. I
Listen.
think that kid is a nutcase, and
The
as far
daughter?
as I'm concerned, he's the one harassing Jay Z.
Is he though?
You keep running online and running.
I guess we just jumped into the story. The guy's name is Rymir Satterthwaite or whatever. His mom was someone who passed away and made this claim that Jay Z was his father, right? That something happened between her and Jay Z way back in the day,
but can I
and
ask
that
you a
Jay Z was
question?
his father. That's her claim
You're
to him.
wrong, but
Social media explodes with comparisons between Rymir and Jay Z's biological children, pointing out similarities in their features, their noses, their eyes. Fans circulate side-by-side photos claiming the resemblance is undeniable. And while resemblance alone isn't proof, the refusal to test makes it harder to dismiss those theories. On the flip side, Jay Z's defenders argue that this is exactly why he won't take the test, because even if the results prove he's not the father, skeptics will just call it fake, or claim he manipulated the outcome. From his perspective, they say, it's better to stay silent than to give the allegations more oxygen. But here's the bottom line. If the courts ever do push past the legal blockades and demand a DNA test, Jay Z will have no choice. The law doesn't bend for billionaires, and refusal would carry real consequences. Which is why the rumor that a judge has finally granted Rymir a breakthrough has the entire internet buzzing. For Rymir Satterthwaite, this battle has never just been about proving who his father is. It's been about survival, identity, and the toll of carrying a secret that the world wasn't ready to hear. Whether people believe his story or not, one thing is undeniable. This fight has shaped nearly every part of his life. From the moment he first tried to step forward, Rymir has been labeled everything under the sun. A liar, an opportunist, a clout chaser. Every lawsuit he filed, every interview he gave, was met with harsh backlash. Imagine being in your 20s and constantly told that you're crazy for simply wanting a DNA test. That stigma followed him everywhere, making it nearly impossible to live a normal, private life. The emotional weight alone has been enormous. Friends and family say that Rymir carries himself with calmness, but behind closed doors, it hasn't been easy. Growing up without a father figure is hard enough, but to grow up believing your father is one of the most powerful men on the planet who refuses to even acknowledge you, that's a wound that never truly heals. Financially, the struggle has been real too. While Jay Z built billion-dollar businesses and raised a family in luxury, Rymir lived a much different life. Reports suggest that he worked regular jobs, hustled to support himself, and at times leaned on family for help. The contrast between his lifestyle and the Carter Empire only made his fight feel heavier. And yet, despite all the challenges, Rymir hasn't stopped pushing forward. Instead of folding under the pressure, he's used his story to become a voice for others who've gone through similar struggles. This fight has also made Rymir a symbol in online culture. Some people see him as the underdog, a David going up against the Goliath of hip-hop royalty. Others roll their eyes and dismiss him completely. At the center of all the drama, beyond the headlines and the billion-dollar empire, are the children, Blue Ivy, Rumi, and Sir Carter. For Beyonce and Jay Z, their kids aren't just their pride and joy. They're the living symbols of everything the Carters have built. But now, with Rymir's claims shaking the foundation of the family, fans can't help but ask, what does all of this mean for the Carter children? Let's start with Blue Ivy. At just 12 years old, she's already a superstar in her own right. She's performed on stage with her mother, won awards, and become a fashion icon for an entire generation. Beyoncé and Jay have carefully guided her image, presenting her as the heir to their throne. But with a potential older half-brother fighting for recognition, the picture-perfect image of the eldest child starts to blur. If Rymir's claims are legitimized, Blue would no longer be the firstborn Carter, a symbolic shift that could alter the narrative Beyoncé has so carefully crafted. Then there's Rumi and Sir, the twins. At just 8 years old, they're still being shielded from the spotlight, but make no mistake, they are part of the Carter legacy. Their parents have gone to extreme lengths to protect their privacy, keeping them away from constant media exposure. But children grow up fast, and in an era where social media defines identity, they won't be able to avoid the headlines forever. Imagine being a Carter kid and typing your family's name into Google only to see endless articles about your father's secret child. For Beyoncé, this is where the emotional weight cuts the deepest. She has fought fiercely to protect her children's innocence, controlling every photo, every public appearance, every narrative. But now, with the Rymir scandal exploding, that control is slipping. And the thought of her kids being dragged into this circus is reportedly one of her greatest fears. For Jay Z, the implications go beyond family drama. If Rymir is legally recognized, it means the Carter kids could one day be forced to share not just their father, but also the empire they're set to inherit. From record labels to real estate, from art collections to billion-dollar businesses, that pie suddenly gets divided differently. And while Beyoncé and Jay Z may insist money doesn't matter, legacy absolutely does. Now all of it has also been supported in whispers and shadows by some of the biggest names in the industry, stars who may not be publicly standing with Rymir, but who are, in their own quiet way, letting it be known that they don't mind seeing Jay Z under pressure. For years, Jay Z has moved like the untouchable giant of hip-hop, the man nobody could knock off the throne. But when you're at the top, you make enemies, and those enemies have been waiting for the smallest crack to appear. With Rymir stepping into the spotlight, that crack finally showed, and suddenly, the people who've clashed with Jay in the past seem to be watching with folded arms, quietly enjoying every second. Take 50 Cent, for example. The king of pettiness has built his entire brand around clowning rivals, and Jay Z has never been immune to his shade.
New lawsuit coming with Jay, the part with Jay. I go, oh shoot, like
to us, black excellence,
that had to be there.
We getting tighter, you know what I'm saying? And united we stand, and ain't nothing else.
Black excellence, they're sitting there like, yeah. It's the billionaire brunch.
Oh,
Like,
I hate you, man.
unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm gonna be with you is this year. Yeah. Come on, bro.
He doesn't even have to say Rymir's name directly. One meme, one sly comment, one sarcastic Instagram caption is enough to send the internet into chaos. Insiders claim 50 has been following the story closely, privately amused by how badly it's been denting Jay Z's flawless billionaire image. To him, it's less about Rymir and more about finally seeing Jay sweat. After all, in hip-hop, weakness is a currency, and 50 Cent knows how to spend it better than anyone. Then there's Kanye West, whose relationship with Jay Z is the stuff of legend, a brotherhood turned bitter feud. Once upon a time, Kanye looked up to Jay as his big brother. Together they made Watch the Throne, an album that defined a generation. But over the years, betrayal and business disputes soured their bond. Kanye has never been shy about blasting Jay Z in public, from rants on stage to interviews where he let his emotions spill. For Kanye, watching Jay Z caught in a paternity scandal feels like karmic payback. He's been painted as the unstable one, the troublemaker, the villain, while Jay Z always kept the image of the cool, collected mogul. But now the tables are turning. With Rymir's claims grabbing headlines, Kanye quietly looks like the one who always saw through the perfect image of Hav. Fans believe he doesn't even need to say a word. His silence is loud enough. Behind closed doors, he may not just be entertained, he may be rooting for Rymir to break down a wall that Kanye himself could never climb over. And let's not forget Dame Dash, Jay-Z's old partner in Rockefeller. Their empire built hip-hop history, but their fallout was ugly and permanent. Dame has never hidden his bitterness. He's accused Jay of betrayal, of turning his back on family, of prioritizing power over loyalty. And the story of Rymir fits neatly into that narrative. The idea that Jay Z could deny his own blood for decades, every partnership he's made depends on his reputation. If that reputation takes damage, doors can close, and rivals in those industries are more than happy to watch it happen. The entertainment world is cutthroat, and when a king stumbles, the vultures don't hesitate. For celebrities like 50, Kanye, and Dame, supporting Rymir isn't about money or family values. It's about symbolism. It's about seeing the man who seemed invincible finally face a battle he can't wrap his way out of.
That Rymir's mother was a minor when she conceived Rymir with Mr. Carter, who was a grown adult. What kind of family man is that? You don't want anyone to know, you or your wife, don't want anyone to know who your actual biological children are, because most of them were created with minors while you were an adult. He's been in court with this young man for the past decade, fighting taking a DNA test. If he's not your kid, take the DNA test.
Can't negotiate away, can't brush off with billionaire charm. They see in Rymir not just a young man searching for identity, but a crack in the empire of Sean Carter. A crack that, if widened, could shift the balance of power in an industry Jay has controlled for too long. And that's the part that makes this story even bigger than family drama. In hip-hop, dominance is everything. Jay Z has built his brand on being untouchable, the hustler who became a mogul, the man who turned obstacles into empires. But if Rymir forces his hand, if a court orders a DNA test that Jay cannot refuse, the mythology of Jay Z changes forever. Suddenly, he's not just the billionaire king, he's the father who might have denied his son. That image, once broken, can never be fully repaired. The truth is, Rymir's fight is personal, but the effects are global. Every rival who has ever lost to Jay, every artist who felt blocked by Roc Nation, every business competitor who watched him dominate deals, they're all watching, some of them whispering, some of them smirking, some of them silently clapping. And while they may not come out and hold Rymir's hand, their energy, their quiet nods of approval, their subtle digs on social media, it all adds fuel to the fire. Because in the end, this isn't just about one young man claiming his father. This is about the king of hip-hop finally being pulled into a fight he can't control. And nothing excites his enemies more than the possibility that Rymir might just be the one to bring Jay Z to his knees. Now, for Jay Z and Beyonce, the trouble is not this alone, because Beyonce is already going through another trouble. Just recently, reports surfaced that some of her unreleased music had been stolen and leaked, a devastating blow for someone who thrives on perfection and surprise. For an artist like her, controlling the timing and delivery of her work is everything. Having that ripped away not only shakes her confidence, but makes her feel exposed. And now, layered on top of that, comes the Rymir scandal, threatening to expose her family life in ways she never intended. It's insult on top of injury, and it explains why insiders say Beyoncé is more determined than ever to shut this down before it spirals. The truth is, when you go up against people as powerful as Jay Z and Beyoncé, you're not just fighting individuals, you're fighting an empire. And that's the terrifying part of Rymir's story. Because while he's standing on his own, demanding recognition and truth, the Carters have resources, influence, and connections that stretch into every corner of the entertainment industry. They don't even have to confront him directly. All they need to do is pull a few strings behind the scenes, and suddenly doors start closing, opportunities vanish, and the world slowly forgets his name. Think about it. How many stories have popped up in the past about celebrities that never saw the light of day because they were buried by legal teams and PR powerhouses? The Carters know how to control a narrative. Beyoncé is a master of silence, refusing interviews and letting mystery drive her legend. Jay Z built his reputation on making power plays in boardrooms most people never even get invited to. Together, they are a fortress. And Rymir is just one man trying to scale the walls. If they decide his story is too dangerous, they won't just fight him in court, they'll fight him in the shadows. That's where it gets chilling. Because maybe we won't see Rymir on the screen again. Maybe he'll try to speak, but interviews will mysteriously get canceled. Platforms will decide his story doesn't fit, and media outlets will suddenly lose interest. We've seen it before. One day someone is everywhere, and the next day they vanished, as if their voice was erased. With the kind of reach the Carters have, that's not just possible, it's likely. If they want Rymir silenced, they won't shout about it. They'll just quietly make sure his voice doesn't carry. And then there's the darker possibility that they'll get him out of the picture altogether. Not in a dramatic movie-style way, but in the subtle, calculated way only the powerful can. Maybe he'll be offered a settlement behind closed doors, money in exchange for silence, and suddenly he'll disappear from the spotlight. Maybe he'll be pushed into a corner legally, drowning in battles he can't afford until he has no choice but to give up. Or maybe, if the rumors are true about how the industry protects its kings and queens, Rymir will simply be blackballed, unable to step foot into any platform that could make his voice heard. Because here's the reality, the Carters have more than money. They have networks. They know the people who decide what gets aired, what gets published, what goes viral, and what doesn't. They can flip a story from trending everywhere to completely invisible. And for someone like Rymir, who doesn't have the same wealth or influence, that kind of opposition is overwhelming. It's not a fair fight. It's David versus Goliath. Only this time, Goliath has an army. But here's the haunting part. Every time Rymir manages to push forward, to get people talking about his story again, it proves just how determined he is. Because if he's still here, if he's still fighting despite the silence, the walls, the attempts to erase him, it means he's not backing down. And that persistence is exactly what scares the Carters the most. Because one crack in the armor can turn into a collapse, and they know it. That's it for this video, but now we want to hear from you. Do you think Rymir will finally get the recognition he's been fighting for, or will the Carters find a way to keep this buried forever? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.